You stand on the first tee. You swing what feels like your hardest swing, and the ball still lands 20 yards short of the guy next to you, the one who somehow looks like he's barely trying. I spent months chasing the reason why. And what I found buried in old golf manuals told me the ball in your hand was probably built for a swing you don't have. Here's the thing, nobody selling you those shiny boxes wants to say out loud, if your driver moves between 70 and 80 miles an hour, the most expensive ball in the shop is quietly costing you distance. The number that used to tell you which ball actually fits your swing got erased from the box on purpose. I'm going to walk you through the 5 balls that testing keeps proving right for your exact speed. And near the end, I'll show you a squeeze test from a golf manual printed in the 1960s that lets you match a ball to your swing in about 4 seconds, standing in the store aisle with nothing but your own 2 hands. I first tripped over this trail on a cold morning at a public range outside Cleveland, watching a 71-year-old man outdrive men half his age with a ball that cost him about $20 a dozen. I had to know what he knew. So let me start where the whole mystery starts. With a number that used to be printed right on the sleeve, and then one day simply vanished. If you bought golf balls in the 1970s or 80s, you remember it. Right there on the box it said 80 or 90 or 100. That was the compression rating. It told you, in one honest number, how firm the ball was and how hard you had to hit it to make it work. Compression is just how much the ball squishes at impact. A ball rated 100 is firm. It barely gives. To make it spring back and release its energy, you need to hit it hard, really hard, like a tour player swinging over 110 miles an hour. A ball rated in the 50s or lower is soft. It compresses easily. A slower, smoother swing can still squash it enough to get that spring back effect that sends the ball flying. Now, here's the part that stopped me cold when I read it. Back then, the game had an honest rule of thumb, and I found it repeated in Club Pro notes and old golf digests from that era. Match your compression to your swing. The harder you swing, the higher the number. The easier you swing, the lower the number. Simple. A senior or a smooth swinger was told, plainly, to play an 80 compression ball, sometimes lower. Nobody was embarrassed about it. It was just fitting the tool to the hand. Then, somewhere in the late 1990s and into the 2000s, that number quietly disappeared from the packaging. New ball technology came along, multi-layer designs, and the marketing teams decided the compression number was too confusing for shoppers. So they replaced a precise, useful number with a single soft word: soft, ultra soft, tour, speed. I want you to sit with that for a second. They took away the one piece of information that told you whether a ball fit your swing, and they handed you an adjective instead. You can't measure an adjective. You can't compare an adjective across brands, and that is exactly the point I kept circling back to as I dug deeper. So the first clue clicked into place. The number wasn't useless. It was inconvenient, because once you understood it, you'd stop buying the ball with the famous name and start buying the ball that fit you. Independent testing outfits, the kind that strap a ball to a swing robot and fire it 1,000 times, still measure compression. They just have to do it themselves now, because the brands won't print it. And when I lined up their measured numbers next to swing speed data, a clean pattern jumped out that no marketing slogan had ever told me. Here is the pattern. For a swing speed between 70 and 80 miles an hour, the sweet spot for compression sits roughly between the mid-30s and the low 60s. Below that speed, you simply cannot compress a firm ball enough to get your energy back out of it. It's like trying to bounce a rock. You put the force in, and the ball just refuses to give it back. All that effort, gone. I found a robot test that laid it out in dollars and yards. A moderate swinger, right in your range, playing a firm tour ball rated near 100 compression, was leaving somewhere between 8 and 15 yards on the table off the driver compared to a properly soft ball. 15 yards. That's the difference between reaching the green in 2 and laying up. That's the difference between a short chip and a long approach. Every single hole, for years. and you were paying a premium for the privilege of losing those yards because the firm tour ball usually costs the most. That's when the soft anger started to creep in for me, and I think it will for you too. Because this wasn't an accident. Somebody figured out that a famous ball with a pro's name on it sells at a higher price than an honest ball with a low number on it. And the easiest way to sell the expensive one to a 75-mile-an-hour swinger was to make sure that swinger never learned the number that would have steered him somewhere cheaper and better. So I stopped trusting names. I started trusting measured compression and real launch data, and that's how I built the list I'm about to give you. 5 balls, all measured, all matched to your speed, ranked by how much they actually do for a swing like yours. But before I hand you the first one, I have to warn you about a trap, because it caught me for almost a month and it's costing thousands of golfers right now. Soft feel and low compression are not the same thing. I assumed they were. I was wrong. A ball can feel soft off the putter face because of a soft cover material, while still being firm in the core, where compression actually lives. The marketing leans on that word soft precisely because it blurs the line. So I learned to ignore how a ball felt in my hand at the counter and look only at the measured core compression. Once I did that, the real contenders sorted themselves out fast. Which brings me to the first ball that earned its place, the Callaway Super Soft. Robot testing puts its compression down in the high 30s, around 38. That is genuinely low. Low enough that a 70-mile-an-hour swing can compress it fully and get real spring off the face. For years, this ball has quietly been one of the best-selling balls in the country, and now you know why. It flies straight, it comes off soft around the greens, and it does not punish a smoother swing. Here's what surprised me. The Super Soft usually sells for around $25 to $30 a dozen. That's less than half what a premium tour ball costs. And for your swing, the testing says it will very likely go farther, not shorter, cheaper, and longer. That combination is not supposed to exist, according to the story they sell you. Yet, there it is. So if you take nothing else from me today, you could stop right here, go buy a dozen of those, and already be ahead of where you were this morning. That single clue is worth the price of everything. But the Super Soft has one weakness. And chasing that weakness led me to the second ball on the list, one most players in your speed range have never even picked up. The weakness is spin. Because the Super Soft is built for straight, forgiving distance, it doesn't grab the green quite as hard on short shots as some players want. If you like the ball to check up and stop near the pin, you want a little more bite. And that is exactly where the second ball comes in, the Wilson Duo Soft. This one carries what is, by measured testing, one of the very lowest compressions on the entire market, sitting down around 35, sometimes reported even lower. Wilson has been making golf balls for a very long time, going all the way back to the early 1900s, and they leaned hard into the low compression idea when the big brands were busy chasing tour players who swing 120. What that ridiculously low compression means for you is simple. Even on a lazy, three-quarter swing, on a cold morning when your body isn't loose, this ball still compresses and still launches. It refuses to feel dead, and Wilson tuned the cover to give a bit more greenside grab than you'd expect at this price. And the price is the part that made me laugh out loud. You can often find the Duo Soft for around $20 a dozen, sometimes less on sale. $20. For a ball engineered around the exact principle that the big companies erased from their boxes. So now I had 2 balls, both cheap, both soft, both matched to your speed, both beating expensive balls in testing. And that raised the question that started to feel like the center of the whole mystery. If the low number is what matters, and the low number costs less to make and sells for less, then who exactly decided you needed a 100 compression ball with a famous name and a $50 price tag? Follow the money on that, and the picture gets ugly. Hold that thought, because the third ball is where the story stops being about cheap balls and starts being about something almost nobody understands. The third ball is the Srixon Soft Feel, and its compression is higher than the first 2, sitting up around 60. Now wait, I just spent all this time telling you lower is better for your swing. So why am I putting a 60 compression ball on the list ahead of who knows what else? Because here is the nuance that separates people who actually understand this from people just repeating a slogan. Compression is not the only thing that matters. It's the gate. It's the thing that decides whether you can use a ball at all. Once you're inside the range that your swing can compress, and for 70 to 80 miles an hour, 60 is still comfortably inside that gate, then other things start to matter, like how the ball launches and how it holds its line in wind. The Srixon soft feel launches high and carries. For a lot of players in your speed range, getting the ball up in the air is the real problem, not raw speed. A ball that launches easily gives you carry distance, and carry is what clears the bunker, clears the water, holds the green. The soft feel does that beautifully while still being soft enough to compress at your speed. It's the thinking person's choice, the ball you graduate to once you understand that you're not just buying softness, you're buying the right flight for your swing. And Srixon prices it, honestly, usually right around $25 a dozen. If the number is gone from the box, how are you supposed to know what you're actually holding? That question sent me hunting, but before I show you what I found, there's something I want to put in front of you. I've been digging into this kind of buried practical knowledge for a long time now, and I turned the deepest part of that research into a series of digital books called First Wins, Sharp Habits, and The Full System. Each one is built around the same idea you're seeing right now: simple, honest, actionable information that got quietly replaced by marketing so you'd keep paying more for less. If you're the kind of person who wants the full framework, not just the highlight, you can find the details in the description below. Now, back to where that hunt actually led me, because the data from those robot tests told a story no marketing slogan had ever touched. But testing a ball for launch made me realize I'd been ignoring something. Every single one of these balls behaves differently in wind and on firm ground, and there was one brand that kept showing up in the data with a strange, almost stubborn straightness that I couldn't explain at first. That's the fourth ball. And figuring out why it flew so straight cracked open the part of this story I least expected. The fourth ball is from Bridgestone, the E12 line, and depending on the year, it's the E12 Soft or the E12 Contact. Bridgestone is a name most people know from tires, and that's not a coincidence. They are, at their core, a rubber science company. They've been doing serious research into how rubber compounds store and release energy for the better part of a century. When they turned that science toward golf balls, they did something clever with the dimples in the cover that helps a slower swing keep the ball on line. The measured compression on these sits in a friendly range for you, generally in the low to mid-50s depending on the exact model. But the reason it kept jumping out in the data was aerodynamics. Bridgestone built a contact force dimple pattern designed to reduce the sideways spin that sends your ball into the trees. For a swing that isn't producing a ton of speed, side spin is the silent killer, because a slower ball spends more time in the air being pushed around. Straighten that out, and you not only find more fairways, you actually gain effective distance, because a ball flying straight travels farther toward the hole than a ball curving off sideways. Bridgestone even ran a nationwide ball fitting program where they put tens of thousands of amateurs on launch monitors, and their own published findings pointed to the same uncomfortable truth I kept hitting. The majority of everyday golfers were playing a ball far too firm for their swing speed. Their own data from their own fittings said most people had the wrong ball. And most of those people had no idea, because the box never told them the number. The E12 usually runs around $30 a dozen. So now I had 4 balls and a pattern so clear it was undeniable. Soft, low compression, honestly priced, matched to a moderate swing, beating the expensive stuff. And I could feel the whole thing about to resolve into something simple, but there was one more ball I had to include, because leaving it off would be dishonest, and because it answers the question that I know is sitting in the back of your mind right now. That question is this: what if I don't want a cheap ball? What if I still want a premium, tour-level ball, but I have a 75-mile-an-hour swing? Is there anything for me? Because I'll be honest, that was my question too. I didn't want to feel like fitting my swing meant settling for less. I hear you. And this is the part I most want you to catch, because it's for exactly the person who thinks this whole conversation is only for beginners or for people who don't care about their equipment. It is not. The fifth ball is the Titleist AVX. And this is a genuine premium cast urethane covered tour quality ball, the kind of construction that pros play. But here's the secret Titleist doesn't shout about. The AVX was engineered as their lower compression premium option, measuring down in a range that a moderate swing can actually use, considerably softer than their most famous tour ball. It gives you the greenside spin and the buttery feel of a tour ball, but it's built so a swing like yours can still compress it and get distance out of it. Yes, it costs more, usually up around $45 to $50 a dozen, but if you're the kind of player who wants the best feel and the best short game control, and you'll pay for it, this is the one ball in the premium category that won't quietly rob you of distance because you can't swing 110 miles an hour. It's the premium ball that respects your actual swing instead of punishing it, and notice what that proves. Even Titleist, the biggest name in the game, quietly builds a lower compression ball for players like you. They know. The engineers have always known. The knowledge was never lost inside the companies. It was just kept off the box, off the marketing, out of your reach, so that the default ball you reached for was the firm, famous, expensive one that fit almost nobody who plays it. That's the villain of this story, and it isn't a person. It's a decision to sell you a word instead of a number, because the word sells at a higher margin than the truth. So now let me pull all 5 threads together and then give you the thing I promised at the very start, the old squeeze test that makes you independent of the whole game. Here is where the 5 land for a 70 to 80 mile an hour swing. If you want the best value and straight, easy distance, the Callaway Super Soft at around 38 compression for roughly $25 to $30. If you want the absolute softest, easiest ball to launch on a slow or cold weather swing, the Wilson Duo Soft near 35 compression for about $20. If you want higher carrying flight and you understand you're buying the right launch, the Srixon Soft Feel around 60 compression, about $25. If your miss is sideways and you need the ball to hold its line, the Bridgestone E12 in the 50s, about $30. And if you want a true premium tour ball that actually fits your speed, the Titleist AVX, around $45 to $50. Every one of those is soft enough for your swing to compress. Every one will very likely outperform the firm, famous ball you might have grabbed out of habit. And 4 of the 5 cost less than that famous ball. But I told you I'd give you something better than a shopping list. Something that frees you from ever having to trust a box again. And this is where the trail finally led me, to a dusty idea from a time before marketing swallowed the truth. I want you to reach back to how players and club fitters actually checked a ball before the compression number was erased and before it was ever printed in the first place. Because the number on the old boxes had to come from somewhere. It came from a machine that physically squeezed the ball and measured how far it gave under a set load. That's all compression ever was. A measurement of squish under pressure. Now here's the buried clue that made me sit back in my chair. In old golf instruction and equipment manuals from the 1960s, back when players understood compression as a matter of course, there was a simple, humble field test taught to golfers and caddies. The squeeze test. You take the ball and press it hard between your thumb and forefinger, or if you want more force, set it on a hard surface and press down with your thumb using your body weight. A high compression ball, the firm tour ball, will feel like pressing on a marble. It gives you nothing. A low compression ball, the kind built for your swing, you can feel it yield just slightly, a tiny give under real pressure. It sounds almost too simple. I didn't believe it either. So I bought balls across the whole compression range, from the low 30s up to near 100, and I tested it blind, pressing each one without looking at the label. And I could sort them. Not to a precise number, but I could absolutely feel the difference between a ball my swing could use and a ball my swing couldn't. The soft ones gave, the firm ones didn't. Every time. Here is the 4-second version you can use standing in any store aisle this weekend. right through the box in many cases, or with a single ball at the counter. Press two balls against each other, hard, between your palms, or press one hard against the edge of a shelf with your thumb. The one that gives, even a little, is the one your 75-mile-an-hour swing can compress and launch. The one that feels dead and hard is the one that's been quietly stealing your distance. You don't need the number on the box anymore, because your own hands can find what the box refuses to tell you. That test was common knowledge 60 years ago. It was taught, it was used, and then it was buried under a single soft-sounding word and a higher price tag. Somebody preserved it in those old manuals. Now you have it back. And once you understand that, the entire game changes. You stop shopping by the name and the color of the box. You start shopping by what your swing can actually do. You buy the $20 ball that fits you, and you outdrive the man who paid $50 for the ball that doesn't fit him. Just like that 71-year-old at the range outside Cleveland, the one who started this whole hunt for me. I finally asked him what he played. He grinned and told me he'd been buying the softest, cheapest ball he could find since before I was born, because his father taught him to squeeze them first. His father, that's where the knowledge lived, passed down, while the rest of us were being sold an adjective. So let me leave you with what this really means, because it's bigger than golf balls. For years, you may have felt like the game was just harder for you, like distance was something you'd lost and couldn't get back, like the smooth swinging guy next to you simply had something you didn't, and that feeling wasn't your swing. It was a ball built for somebody else's swing, sold to you with the one honest number scrubbed off the box. You didn't lose those yards. They were taken quietly, one firm ball at a time. And now you know how to take them back for about $20. If you're the kind of person who suspects that a lot of useful, simple truth got buried under decades of marketing so you'd keep paying more for less, then you already understand what this channel is really about. It's not about golf. It's about refusing to be sold a word when you deserve a number. Now I want to hear from you. Go grab whatever ball is sitting in your bag right now and give it the squeeze test I just described. Press it hard. Does it give, or does it feel like a marble? Tell me in the comments which ball you play and what it did when you squeezed it. I read these, and I want to know how many of you have been playing a marble all these years without knowing it. Leave that comment. Tell me your ball and your result, because your answer might be the thing that saves the next person $100 and 15 yards. And if you want to keep recovering the practical knowledge that got quietly buried so you'd keep paying, stay with me. Because next I'm pulling the thread on golf shafts, and there's an old fitting trick using nothing but a length of string and a doorway that tells you whether your shaft is fighting your swing. The equipment companies really don't want you doing that one at home. I'll see you there. I spent months chasing this, and here I gave you the overview. But there's more. Inside the old ways circle, I walk you through the full compression-matched fitting system, picking up right where I stopped. In there you can ask me your own question, and a real person, me, answers you myself. You're not alone. You belong here with old ways folks like you. Just point your phone at the code. You can cancel any time.